y'all. Welcome back to Shady Conversations, where we speak the truths that most women keep tucked away. I'm your host, the legacy curator, Shayna Mowat. Whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been riding with me from the beginning, this platform is all about amplifying the unspoken truths of womanhood, and today's episode is another step on that journey. Let's get into it. Okay, so today we have a guest with us. It's my good sis, Irene.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
So me and Irene have been friends for what, like 10 plus 20? Are we at 20 yet?
Since middle school, so when
We're
was
not
that?
at 20 yet. That's
2008,
crazy.
but almost. 2028 will be like
Oh my
crazy.
God. Okay, 20-year friendship.
I'll take it.
We in there. We were actually supposed to record this episode a couple weeks ago. It got rescheduled, and I'm actually glad that it got rescheduled because I feel like I wasn't mentally fully prepared to do it yet. Not in a bad way, but because of what today's topic is, like I didn't want nobody to come back and be like, oh, they're saying that this is bad, and that's not necessarily what the conversation is about. We're just speaking our truths. So today's topic is going to be around organized religion. Again, just a little disclaimer. We're not trying to get canceled. We're not trying to tell nobody organized religion is a bad thing. Everybody has their own faith walks, and we're just showing what ours look like. So before we get into that, though, Irene, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So my background is I'm originally from Malawi, came to this country when I was 2, so basically raised here. But I grew up with a dad who was a pastor, and interestingly enough, I feel like we've been almost under every denomination. So we were Baptist for affiliated for a bit, Presbyterian, non-denominational, Pentecostal. My mom grew up Catholic, so I feel like
y'all tried all the things.
Yeah, I definitely got a glimpse of like all the different kind of denominations of Christianity. And then when you're raised as a pastor's kid, I think you get to see more of the like administrative side of, a church and how it runs and functions. So that's kind of my background and where I came from. And today I consider myself still to be spiritual, still to believe in God, but I don't necessarily align myself with any church base or church family or home. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey for me.
Well, first off, I didn't know that you tried all those things.
I mean, I didn't try.
Not by choice, you were drugged there. Do you think that because your dad was a pastor, and I'm not coming for your dad or anything like that, was he really on this like spiritual journey when he tried these different denominations, or was it more like a job?
So by the time he got an official job, he started off ordained under like a Pentecostal ministry, and he stayed with that for a long time, and then he ended up getting a job as a Baptist. So I guess as an associate pastor, wherever he took the job, as long as the overall beliefs kind of aligned with his faith system, he was okay with that. So he wasn't necessarily rigid in how he practiced Christianity. I think as long as he felt like that church was preaching the gospel, like he was okay with it. Yeah.
Did he ever seem more irritated with one denomination than the other?
Interestingly enough, I feel like my parents, and I think culture comes into play, like as immigrants when they came to America, I think that the non-denominational, I don't want to call it watered down, but a little more like, it's kind of family friendly, straightforward, not too controversial. I don't think that necessarily spoke to them. I think that they kind of wanted a belief system that kind of replicated what they grew up with. So I think in an African culture, I think the Pentecostal faith ended up aligning more with their beliefs. Like a lot of Africans are concerned with like witchcraft and fighting spiritual battles, and like some denominations don't really go there. They don't really talk about demons and that type of stuff, casting them out. So I think ultimately the less rigid and structured the church was, or the less extreme the church was, I think the less my parents liked it. I think my parents really got to a point where borderline I felt like they were in cults, and so I think that's where we started to deviate a bit with like, I don't know that I necessarily want to practice my Christianity in this extreme way. Yeah.
I mean, just that insight, I can relate to that. So I grew up Church of God, Seventh Day. It's not Adventist. It's more like Baptist, but on Saturdays we recognize the Sabbath from sunset to sunset. I think as I got older, I stopped going to church like on a regular, I want to say right after high school, a little bit in high school. Because I remember my dad would be like, yeah, going to church, are you coming? I'd be like, nah. I had like church hurt, but not in a sense where I ever walked away from my faith or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when my mom passed away, I felt like, and again, I'm not knocking nobody, because I still go to the same church that I grew up at. I still talk to all of them. I still love all of them. But I think at that time, it was just like, okay. Like for me, I felt pushed aside, and I talked about this on a different episode.
Like
But
you
I
didn't get the
felt,
support you needed?
yeah, because I was 14, so I was like looking to adults.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I also had to remember that a lot of my mom's friends at the church, they were also grieving. And so it's kind of like I had to get a little bit older to really understand that these are just people. They're really they're going through it too.
Perspective.
So it's not that they're like pushing me to the side, and I don't think that they were pushing me to the side. I just felt like at that time I wanted to be comforted more than I was getting. So I just kept in my own shell.
Yeah. And it's interesting that time frame, that age, like I feel like high school, early college is when you're turning 18, you're starting to develop your own sense of self, and I was kind of around the same age when I stepped away. So I think that's interesting, that I think there's like a developmental part of that you almost have to like leave the nest a bit and like kind of form your own belief system as opposed to just what you were raised as.
You gotta figure it out for yourself, because then at some point it's like, okay, do I actually believe this, or am I just doing it because this is what I've been doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So like when I went on my journey to start trying to go back to church, I was like, let me explore other churches. And this is where I say that I kind of can relate to what you were saying, because Church of God Seventh Day is not that common. I haven't seen for other cultures. I see it a lot in the Caribbean culture. But, you know, up here, you're going to see other things. So it's like when you know you're rooted in something, your beliefs are this, you start going to other places. It might seem a little culty, like you said with your dad.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, all right, this doesn't really align. Like what y'all got going on is good, but it's not fully what I believe. Okay, so tell me about it, like your decision leaving and where that took you. And
so I will say this, like full disclaimer, like I undoubtedly have like religious trauma. So like I feel like people shouldn't take my experiences as like the norm. Like again, I was in some ministries that most people would argue are like cults, and that behavior was like not necessarily normal or representative of what the Bible actually preaches. So I think that needs to kind of be said first. But I think like, so in middle school, my parents joined a ministry. It was a Ghanaian-based church when we were living in Boston, but it was Pentecostal, and like the main ministry was like, he was doing a lot of spiritual work with casting out demons. Like that was his whole MO. So at a young age, at like 12, 13, I was watching like exorcisms. And they would always say like, kids, leave the room. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, that's my cue to go. But then my parents would be like, no, stay. You need to watch this. And I'm like, wait.
But they say,
yeah, like, so then you have the like this background of like, this is so like, this is heavy, right? It was heavy stuff. And I think watching people like foaming at the mouth, seizing, passing, like that was a lot. And I feel like my parents meant well. But that wasn't, so that shook me to my core.
Talk about being scared in the dark when you go home.
And then it was like overnight prayers, and my parents would go on a Friday night and they'd pray throughout their night until Saturday morning, and then you turn around and come back to church again on Sunday. So again, I started to have these like philosophical questions of like, okay, like if we are children of God and we're covered by the blood, then why do we have to pray all night against enemies? Like it seemed like fear-based. Like a lot of what was driving that was like fear of demons, fear of being bewitched, fear of your enemies, and it was always like spiritual warfare. And that just got like heavy. So thankfully that chapter ended. I mean, again, I was left with all of the the trauma of experiencing it, but
I get that.
Yeah.
So like even under my denomination, you know, we have different churches. At my church, I've heard of it, but like you said, they would always send the kids out, but it didn't happen so often. However, another church that you go to visit, like a sister church or something, they might get it all the time.
Yeah, it's always
and
popping.
Service is shutting down. Like every time you go to visit, it's like, oh, here goes another one, and it's like
they lay a white cloth. You're like,
right. But I mean, some churches are just led to do that, and they're doing God's work, and I'm here for y'all. But it could definitely be traumatizing. I can see that.
I think at a young age, too, when you're not like consenting to go for deliverance,
right?
And also you're seeing people fall out, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to be falling out? Like, why isn't the Holy Spirit touching me? But everybody else is passed out. Like, am I stubborn? Like, are my demons? Right. You know, it's like you're like 13. Like,
I still go through. Well, not demons, but I still go through that now. Like sometimes I go to church and I just, it's like a real good, like they shouting, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna shout today. Nope, it's not me. God, we're here, but it's not me. Like.
And I had to learn that. I think, if I'm going to be straight up honest, I think in the particular ministry that I was in, some people were putting on a show, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say faking, but where it's like, You know, I mean, I've had pastors legitimately like shove me to the ground, like push my head
Yeah,
so far down. And so you realize that
I've seen
there
that.
is a bit of performance sometimes, particularly with like these Pentecostal churches where there's a lot of like performance based, right? Like,
Not bashing Pentecostal. If you're
not at all,
Pentecostal,
but
this is just our experiences.
yeah, specifically. I had to learn that like you don't have to speak in tongues to have a like close relationship with God if you haven't been given the gift or whatever of tongues.
Yeah.
You don't have to fall out and pass out every Sunday to be touched by the word of God. Like,
And I feel like that's truly what it is. It's a gift because God communicates with everybody differently. Like some people,
it's true.
I believe, I mean, I'm not like I don't see the future, but I know when God's trying to tell me something, I dream it.
Like you have discernment. Yeah,
Yeah.
God he has given you certain gifts. And I'm a dreamer as well, and same. I think like, you know, you have a spirit of like discernment maybe, or
Yeah.
like you feel like God can speak to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I agree with that. Some people maybe need that avenue of accessing God, and maybe other people have found a way to communicate with God without needing
Yeah.
a pastor to to usher him in, yeah, his presence
Right.
into your body. But yeah, so then we left that ministry. And I mean, we could do a whole segment on it. So how we ended up leaving was the pastor of that church. He ended up impregnating a woman in the church.
Mm.
And as if that's not bad enough, he had a wife that was back in Africa. So he always claimed, like, my wife's in Africa, she's doing things over there. So, but then how did you get a woman here pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as if that's not bad enough, a third woman walks into the church doors one day and she's like, oh, he's my baby dad. And she has pictures. So it was just like,
And
this is chaos.
one thing I can say, I mean, you know, I've done my share of sins in life or whatever, but I'm not up on the pulpit trying to lead people.
Exactly.
And I mean, I think what a lot of people forget is that pastors are also humans. But if you know that you're in a time of your life where you're not living right, I feel like you should probably be honest. Like, you don't got to tell everybody your business, but be like, right now, this era of my life is not a good time.
Yeah, it's hard to, if you're the spiritual authority, you are held to like a higher standard, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you're human, but it's just like a police officer or, you know,
Right.
anybody, a teacher, you know, you have to hold yourself a certain way or you get more judgment than if you were just a private citizen.
Yeah.
So that was a big drama. And I think for me, that's maybe the start of my deconstruction in a sense, where he was somebody that I looked up to. And again, this was borderline occult because we didn't call him like pastor. He was called like dad or papa. And like, again, like in hindsight,
That's a
like,
laugh. But
red flag. Yeah, it's like you have
crazy.
grown men calling another man papa. Like you had to dress
So
a
in his
certain
wild
way.
oats.
He would call people out mid-service, so he'd be like, somebody here is sinning and they're about to start shaking, and then somebody would start shaking. So it was like a lot of like public shame. Yeah, like it was just like in hindsight, yeah, that wasn't the healthiest ministry. There was also like the overnight house that people would stay at. I think there was like some allegations that like things that were happening there to like women that came in, like, you know, anytime you're in a position of power, unfortunately, like you can abuse it. And so I think unfortunately there's some pastors who abuse that power, and it puts a bad name because now you have victims of this ministry. And you're supposed to be doing the work of God. So unfortunately, that was like my foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And then we moved to Maryland, and then my dad got a job at a Kenyan-based church, but it was like Baptist affiliated. So that was like a total 180. I would argue it was a lot more normal. You know, it was standard church service. They did allow, you know, speaking in tongues, and they did allow laying of hands, but it wasn't to the extreme. It wasn't like everybody has demons and they need to be purged. It was a lot more easier to wrap my head around. But then at that age now I'm like 15, 16. So now I'm getting involved in like church politics because I'm no longer just like a kid in Sunday school. Now I'm a pastor's daughter, and I think now that's a whole different chapter. Yeah. So the expectations.
And that's wild because it's like, okay, you're finally feeling calm about being at church, and now they're coming at you for
right, that's a good point. Yeah, like, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah,
I just got comfortable here. Now y'all giving me another reason. Like, that's crazy.
It's true. Yeah, so I was the youth leader. I was in choir. I would help in Sunday school. And I think, like, in hindsight, I can look back and see that, like, church became a task. Like, it became a job with a role as opposed to I'm coming here for, like, spiritual healing and guidance. It really was, like, there was things expected of me. And I didn't have a choice. So I wasn't volunteering to be in Sunday school or volunteering to sing. It was just like, you know what you're doing. Yeah, and I think that, like, in hindsight, I think if my parents had given me a little more flexibility, then maybe I wouldn't have resented it so much. Because, again, you're in high school now. Like, you want to do stuff with your friends on weekends. Everybody else goes to church, if they do, on Sundays. And you're there, like, Wednesday night for Bible study, Friday night for prayers. Yeah, so you're there like multiple days a week. Friday night, Saturday you have youth, Sunday you're there all day. Everybody leaves. Your parents are having board meetings. So I feel like I was clocking in probably like 20 to 30 hours a week on church as a teenager, and I think that was a lot. Yeah,
That's
because
what they should have been paying you.
yeah, and also like I'm not a pastor. I didn't seek ministry. I'm just the child of somebody who did. So I think yeah, very quickly church became more of a task than something I enjoyed doing. And I think that unfortunately shaped some of my like that time when you're 18, 19 self-discovering. Like I definitely had a lot more aversions than I had like incentives to go to church. Yeah. So by the time I had any type of choice, it was like bye. Like
Right.
yeah.
You're listening to Shady Conversations, the space where real women speak real truths, hosted by your legacy curator, Shayna Moat. And behind every episode is TSS Motif, the creative engine curating powerful experiences, brand storytelling, and meaningful conversations. From social media production to brand development, event curation, and transformational spaces, TSS Motif is where vision meets voice. If you're looking to collaborate, elevate your brand, or dive deeper into each episode through the Shady Conversations blog, head to tssmotif.com. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time doing a lot of like roles in the church, and then when I was 18, I had an experience with there was basically like a handsy guy in the church. He was like an older guy, and he was touching on everybody. Like you could be a young adult, a married woman, a pastor's wife, and he was just like I don't know if Caribbeans do this, but like there's this like weird flirty thing they do where like somebody will shake your hand and they kind of like scratch your face. He would do that. Like he was just very inappropriate, and like, a lot of people complained about it. But again, it's like the cultural aspect, right? Like this is an African church, African culture. I don't think that like
you're not supposed to disrespect the man.
Yeah, you don't disrespect your elders, and then it was just a weird dynamic. So I'll never forget this moment because it was actually my friend Faith, who also went to church with us. Her grandmother or something had passed, so they were hosting like a memorial kind of service, and we were sitting in the sanctuary, and that guy was sitting next to me, and he essentially like assaulted me in the church, but it was like a moment where like the pastor had told everybody to close their eyes and pray.
What?
And he ended up grabbing my private area and just like, and it was one of those moments where like you go into shock, like everybody's eyes are closed.
I'm in shock right now.
Like, like, do I scream?
Literally sit here looking at you with my mouth open, like prayer time.
What do I say? And I'll never, like, it's like one of those moments that's unfortunately etched. Like I turned and looked at him and he was like smiling and he had like the most evil grin. And I just felt like small.
That's one of them demons.
Yeah, right? You're purging everybody but his. And, and then, the moment of prayer ended and he stopped or whatever. And I did confront him and I was like, what the heck was that? Like, what are you doing? And he was like, I couldn't help myself. And it was just like what a creepy old disgusting person would say. So I'm like, oh, it's a wrap. Like, I'm about to, so I told my parents and I told the pastor and I'm thinking like,
that was going to be my question. I was going to say,
yeah,
did you
like,
tell anybody?
He's going to be ousted. And I think, unfortunately, like, that was when, like, my religion was broke because the pastor's response was a lot of young girls chase these older men, especially guys that are, like, musicians and play music. Like, younger women in the church always go for musicians. So I was like, oh.
I sure did.
So this somehow is, like, my
man
fault.
Is the drummer.
Yeah, right? And then I'm talking to my parents because they're just on mute. And I'm like, so what are y'all going to do about it? And they're just kind of like, well, like, do you want us to press charges or is that what we're supposed to do? And it became very clear to me that, like, I was, like, causing a problem. Like, right? Like, addressing this was going to cause drama that, like, I don't think my parents wanted to deal with. Obviously, the pastor was very dismissive. And it was just like, oh, okay. So then, unfortunately, I think my religion was almost, like, shattered at that point because it's like we come here because everybody else is sinners and is lost and we're
y'all supposed to be good people,
but yet it's like sexual assault can fly here. And at the same time I had a friend that was dealing with like an affair that was happening in the church openly and they weren't also saying anything about the man in that situation. So it just became clear to me that like, oh, like church politics isn't always as holy and as pure as you would think it would be. Like, I remember like the Bible would say like, oh, you expel the immoral brother. But I felt like in the church I was in, certain people were allowed to be openly like sinful in the church. It was just weird. And I think it just was like, what's the moral ground here? Like,
I hate that you went through that. And I mean, I would like to think I feel, and I don't know, because I've never experienced that. I don't know if other people have experienced that, and I don't want to like overstep. But I hate that, like, because you know some people aren't even comfortable to say it.
Yeah.
And you said it to a couple people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
But the same thing you said, where it's like when you felt like you needed the church, like the one time
Yeah.
where I actually am like, I need something from you, it's like you didn't get it.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, like, so yeah, it's like I have to get help in like therapy and in all these other places where it's like the whole message was that like you come to God or you come
Yeah.
to church for this stuff, but like my healing didn't come from the church. If anything, like my trauma was caused by it. So even like my relationship with my parents was affected at that point because I was like, I felt like they chose the church and church politics over me. So, you know, it's like you're working through a lot.
You know, the fact that you just said that, it just resonated with me. Yesterday when I went to church, I feel like every time I go to church, it's the first time in a long time because I don't go often. Mm-hmm. But yesterday, the message was called "Turning Your Trauma into Praise." Mm. So it's really crazy that you said that.
Interesting.
But anyways, go ahead. We can talk about that later. But.
No, yeah, I am interested to hear because if I'm being honest, like I think I struggle with that. Like I think I've come to a place where I've been able to accept that like what happened to me is not what church is, right? That's not what people of God do. That's not what a true Christian church would support or protect, because there were unfortunately other victims of that church. And I felt comfortable telling my story when another girl posted her story on YouTube. And she talked about how she spoke to our pastor too, and she was also dismissed. So then it was like, like, this is the problem with like an institution protecting like something like this. It's like there's multiple victims or people that were hurt by like one specific ministry. So then I was like, oh, it's not just me. Yeah, like this was...
You know, also like some people, and I think this is a big thing, as a parent, as a pastor, you know, somebody who's responsible for people.
Yeah.
But some people are like scared of conflict.
That's true. Yeah.
You have to be ready to be in go mode if you need to.
Yeah, with your flock.
Like these are your people. You're protecting them.
And I think also like parents, like I think a lot of times our parents assume like if it's a church thing or it's a Christian thing, then it's automatically good. So a lot of predators and evil people like use that like blind trust, right?
Yeah.
Of like it's like a wolf in sheep's skin. Like you come here with all these vulnerable, broken-hearted people, and like you're just taking advantage.
My dad would have met him in the parking lot.
I'm telling you, yeah. Like I mean, he was touching everybody. Like I wasn't even special. Like
right. Stop.
But what's crazy about that guy was that he ended up sexually harassing somebody at his job, and he ended up getting fired and like convicted for that. And I remember telling my parents that like it's sad that like a random company held him more accountable than like the church did, right?
Yeah,
it's like
he's in there praising God with
leading our praise and worship, doing
quote
music,
unquote praising God in there because it was prayer time.
Yeah, right. Like
he's being handsy. Like clearly that's not what he was doing.
Like he was in there trying to cop a feel the whole time.
And like some people really have like a mental issue, and it could have been that, but just the simple fact that nobody was holding him accountable. He ain't getting that checked out. So, I mean, you said he did to somebody at work. Lord, like, he could have did to somebody in the grocery store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, all these women are being victimized. It was right? Like,
she pressed them charges expeditiously.
Right. And now he dead because nobody held him accountable.
I'm telling you. So I had, like, a pretty rough journey with my religion and Christianity. But, like... That's the good thing about being an adult and being able to seek spirituality out for yourself is that, like, you can write your own rules. You can, like, find God and spirituality in your own way. So I think it was hard for me to break the, like, really rigid system that my parents set up for me. And, like, they still follow it. So I think even still it's hard to... I've almost felt like I've had to put a hard line between, like, my past and, like, those people that go to that church and ministry and, like, what I'm doing now. Because... Yeah. When I find myself, like, going once in a while or, like, oh, there's an event or somebody passed away, it's, like, all the trauma comes back. Like, somebody will make one comment and you're like, oh, like, I remember why.
Like, this is why I left.
So, yeah, so I think it's a journey, right? So, spirituality is a journey, but I'm happy to say that I'm no longer at a place where I'm, like, mad at God or, like, mad at the church or, like, think that all Christians are fake. I think it took me a long time to process that, like, this was, like, a tragedy that happened to me, but... it's not what God's love is. And like, so yeah, I think it's important to remember that your personal experiences don't shape everything as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what happened to me.
Yeah. And I think that's basically my conclusion as well. Like some people, I mean, my sister still goes to the church that she never left, except for she went away to college, but she never left. We've been going to the same church, and it's like I left because of like what I explained to you guys, but I've never left my faith. And I think it, like I said, it took me a while as I got older. Now that I'm a woman and I done, got my mental right and I done put things into perspective, it's like, well, for me, I didn't go through what you went through, and I'm sorry you went through that, because nobody deserves to go through anything like that. But it was just like, people are people. Yeah. And even though some people do get held to a higher standard, like, nobody's being held to a higher standard than God. And like, even though, and that's what some people be like, well, why would God let this happen to me? It's not necessarily happening to you.
Like, it's just life. Yeah, like God doesn't
like
say
it's
the bad
life.
Stuff won't happen.
Yeah, life is life, and we all have to experience things, and we all have to learn lessons. And some lessons some people don't necessarily have to experience, but they do experience it. And I think you have to realize that it's not just God moving out here. Like, God is moving, God is protecting, but the devil's moving too.
True that.
The devil was all up and through that man.
Yeah.
You hear, God got you. The devil was just working right next to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. I don't know. It is.
And do you sometimes feel like I feel like deconstructing yourself is very hard, because I feel like sometimes the guilt is still like deep down there in the back, where it's like, oh, I'm not tithing every Sunday, right? Or once a month. I'm not attending church every Sunday. Like, even like, if I'm being honest, like, I don't know if you saw that, like, all these Christians were like, the rapture's gonna happen, like, the other day when they were all panicking. And even though I know, like, I know the rapture's not happening, like, deep down in the back of my head, I was like, all right, like, let's just say he does.
Am I right? Am I ready?
Like, am I really, like, damn, maybe I should go to church this Sunday. Right. So you do, it's like, it's hard to stand on that. Like, I think, like, religion really, it's, for me, the hard part with religion is that it's very, like, rigid. It's like, especially if you pick a specific denomination, right? Like, you got Baptists arguing with Pentecostals, right? You're supposed to do a water baptism where you fully submerge, and then a Catholic's like, no, a little bit of sprinkle of water is fine. Like, the beliefs vary so much that I think if more people understood that, like, it's okay, like, at ease, like, you know what I mean? We don't have to be so rigid. It's okay to pick what speaks most to you, but I think, like, that was hard for me. It's like, I'm not a rigid person. I'm somebody that's very okay with, like, taking a little bit of this or a little bit of that, or like, I see the good in, like, a lot of different things, and so like, I wouldn't just call myself a Pentecostal or a this, because, so I think if you don't fit into a specific box, I think sometimes religion can be hard for you. Like, people like me, it's like, where do you fit in when it's like, I don't necessarily know that I want to, like, for example, tithing was another thing where it's like, I know that it's a biblical command and I believe in supporting a ministry, especially if you're being blessed from it, but then you get those, like, you got to pay $1,000 and everything, like, and it gets, like, scammy, and then you have
send in your money on TV.
Discernment, like, or buy this miracle water and drink it, and you're gonna get a check, and it's like, you see, like, taking advantage of, like, desperate people, so it's, you have to always be sifting through, like, what's nonsense and, like, scammy versus what's, like, truly spiritual.
So I used to give, like, offering all the time. I actually just started tithing this year at this big age. I mean, granted, finances are looking a lot better now.
Yeah, right. It's not my little part-time job.
Right. But, I mean, the purpose of tithing didn't really settle with me until this year. And I feel like people know what they know when it comes to, like, all these different religions to a fault sometimes, because it took me going out and experiencing other churches, and you grew up experiencing other churches, but I didn't I did, because my uncle played at, like, Sunday churches. He was a bass player, and he would take me with him sometimes, but I wasn't there to, like, worship with these people. I was there because my uncle was going, I wanted to get out the house.
That's different.
So as I got older, it was like I was really searching for something, and I realized that, like, what I know is actually what resonates with me. The other stuff out there, I'm not calling it stuff like that, but, like, I mean, I didn't explore Buddhism. That's idolizing something. I'm not idolizing nobody but God. But other denominations of Christianity, I did explore, and it just didn't resonate with me. So I can fully say that, like, what I knew is what I believe.
Yeah, like it felt right to you, explore it, and you still kind of came back.
But some people don't get that opportunity to, or even take the initiative to go and explore other things. So it's like what they know is what they know.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, and like I think that's how like my parents were, was like we got this one thing and we stuck with it, and like we're gonna ride that to the end. But it is interesting. I think like being an immigrant, you know, like a lot of immigrants come to America and like faith is like really what grounds you, right? Like you're struggling a lot of times, like we're not necessarily where we want to be. Like our parents had to really work to build wealth and the life that they wanted, and so I think like sometimes situationally you'll cling to religion more or like harder depending on your life circumstances. So like I had to kind of understand that too, that like for my parents, like leaving a third world country and coming here and not knowing anybody, anything, like that's, they chose religion and they clung to it, and like they may have been extreme, but I think it's because they used it to cope with life and all the things that they were going through. So it's, yeah, religion I think ultimately is a beautiful thing. I think that we all need spiritual guidance. We all need, there's more to us than just what the physical is, what we see. I think most people, I guess there's atheist people that don't, but I think most people can acknowledge that life is bigger than us, right?
I don't care what nobody says. Atheists believe so hard that there's not a God that they have to believe that God is a thing to not want to follow it. You know what I mean? Like clearly y'all believe. Y'all just not following nothing.
That's true, yeah. Because I think, and like I'm super like whimsical with it. So I have had like religious experiences. You know, I don't know if we can go there, but I've had like experiences with psychedelics. You know, like I feel like I have really dived into like spirituality. When I was in college, I took a lot of like Jewish studies courses because I was like, oh, let me see like the foundations of this religion that I follow and what it was, and that was eye opening for me. And I agree with that. I think people really need to dive in, and it's okay because I think it's scary. Like I remember after one college class, a girl was like breaking down crying because we had interpreted how the Bible was translated over years, and we had come to some conclusions of like, oh, like maybe what we think isn't necessarily what we think. And this girl was having a full panic attack and like crashing out, and I was just kind of like I had already halfway kind of started to deconstruct from like, it doesn't have to be rigid. Like I can take the stories from the Bible and the parables from the Bible and take the messages, but I maybe don't necessarily have to take it like literally. Like,
and also life, because everybody's life looks differently too.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like,
what if the one thing you've been avoiding is actually the exact life-changing tool you've been searching for? If you cringe whenever you hear finances or life insurance, it's time to change the narrative. Life insurance isn't about death, it's about stability while you're living. It's how you make sure your family is protected, your business stays afloat, your responsibilities don't fall on loved ones, and your dreams remain intact even when life shifts unexpectedly. At Life by Design Financial, we show families, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits how to leverage life insurance for real freedom. That's asset protection, long-term stability, community impact, and legacy that actually outlives you. Your purpose deserves structure, your dreams deserve protection, your family deserves peace. If you're ready to stop avoiding the conversation and start building your life by design, let's talk. Connect with Life by Design Financial today. Your future will thank you. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, religion, it's weird because we're in this weird time too where like I think for a while like we're seeing that now there's like a new era in politics, and so I think it's interesting how like things shift. I think for a while if you were like openly about God and Christianity, you were associated with like, you know what I like, it's interesting. Okay. Like,
so I have a question, and this might just be me, like I have this very nonchalant, I don't care about a lot of things unless I care about it type of attitude. I don't follow politics. I mean, I know what's going on in the world, but it's like nothing in the world necessarily scares me because like I think because my faith is so strong.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not like in the church like I used to be. Do I want to get back into church? Yes. Mostly for my boys because it was a good foundation for me.
Yeah.
I want them to have the foundation. I know I can't teach the lessons,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the pastors.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, listen to God. They're gonna be like, but why? And I'm gonna be like, well,
It's important. Yeah, I think for kids it does give them.
I'm gonna be like scanning through the Bible, whereas somebody else who has like, you know, studied it and are in it all the time can just tell
or as
them.
they start to ask, like, how did we get here? Why
yeah,
are we here?
like things
yeah,
like that.
they're
Like,
gonna have those.
ooh,
But I find it interesting because I think religion and politics are, in at least in the United States, very tied. So that was another issue that I had, was that, again, all churches are different, but the churches that I were in were very conservative. Not just in the sense of like being pro-life or but like politically we're conservative. So I am a black person that's in these churches that are supporting, you know, the Republican Party, and I don't
Were
feel...
any of these churches that you went to not predominantly black?
Earlier, yes.
Okay.
But even so, Africans are also culturally different from African Americans. So Africans tend to be very conservative and align themselves with what I would argue is like white nationalism, right? Like they kind of see that and they're like, yeah. So seeing the rise of Trump and things that are happening too, and seeing how much the Christian church has been supporting him, has been like, this is where religion gets like weird for me. I have a hard time with like the institution of it.
But
right?
see, saying Christian church, it just depends on what denomination we're talking
Agreed,
about.
Right? Because I know that there are a lot of African American churches that are very big on civil rights and preaching for social justice.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that like currently, like I remember like there was this big photo of like Trump was getting his hands laid on by a bunch of pastors. And so a bunch of Christian people were like, oh, see, like he gave his life to Christ. And I'm like, I mean, okay. But to me, like I'm looking at the fruit and I see it differently. So I feel like I see how... And again, I'm talking about like I think white Christians, but I think it's important because white Christianity is like the dominant culture in our society. So I find it interesting, that politics and religion are tied. And I think as somebody who's very political, kind of opposite of you, I get very upset with that being the face of Christianity, because I'm like, this to me is not like what Christianity is.
Right,
but
like, this is not what we say.
People are telling you like this is God's country and we're fighting for God and all this, and I'm like, damn. So like, I think it is interesting. I think it's important to find a church family that, aligns with your beliefs too, because I think depending on what church you're in or what ministry or what the makeup of the demographics are, you can find yourself like in an interesting position. So I'm raised by black conservatives. So both of my parents are Republican, have always been, and are currently Trump supporters too.
Yeah.
So I have a...
Ooh, you just got canceled. It's
like, yeah, exactly, right? Like, I'm just like, I have a hard time because a lot of what funds their beliefs is religion, right? They're like, this is the party that's supporting, you know, keeping kids alive, or this is the party that's anti-homosexuality. And, like, I disagree with some of those things, right? Like, I'm very pro-choice. I'm very pro-LGBTQ. Like, I believe that, like, people should just be who they are and that it's not my place to use the law to, like, dictate how they live their lives. So I think I struggle with some of that stuff, too, where it's like, where do I fit in, or where do I, how do I reconcile my beliefs with what the Bible says if sometimes I feel like they're contradicting almost? Yeah, so I think, religion is very tricky. There's a lot of different layers to it, but I think what's been healing for me is to just realize that, like, again, like, I have to break that rigidity, that there's no one size fits all. You don't have to fit into, like, a box where it's like, I believe this, and this, and therefore I'm Baptist, or I'm this. Like, whatever your spiritual conviction is like okay, and that's valid too.
And conviction's a real thing, because bringing it back to like the cultural aspect, like I said, my family's Jamaican, and my mom's family was the religious family, and my dad's family was not. My mom grew up in the church. My dad did not grow up in the church. He started going to church because of my mom. But even after they, moved to America and they had us, my dad was going to church, but he always, like, held his own beliefs in a sense. Like, he always believed in God, yes. Yeah. But he's also very much a street nigga. Like, like, the rules
he was
are, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, so I kind of took bits and pieces from each side, because even though my dad's side of the family was what they would say, quote unquote, worldly, and it's always like you have like one fun side of the family.
Yeah, literally.
So that was my dad's. I mean, I had fun with my mom's side too, but my dad's side was like the wild side. But they had their morals and their values that they stood by. And so I took like a little bit of both. Like, I strongly believe in the religion that I grew up in, but I also know that life is going to take you different places. You're going to have to make certain choices. And I don't think that God is going to, first off, he already knows what choice you're going to make.
Yeah, right.
Because your story is technically already written, but he'll lay it out in front of you. Your life could, and I think, and people be like, it was hard or it was harder. I had to choose my hard.
Yeah.
So if you choose one path, it's not that you're not going to end up where you're meant to be. The path is just going to look a little different.
Mm.
And that's just like the cultural family aspect of things. So it's like I had to take a little bit of both. So I believe in my religion and everything that the Bible says, but also I had my kids out of wedlock.
Yeah, right. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, we're not like wearing skirts,
right? Like, and I'm not encouraging anybody to have their kids out of wedlock because it does come with its own trials. But like, I don't think that God is. I don't feel shame over
it.
I
don't think that was like God's punishing you.
Yeah, I don't feel punished. I don't feel shame over it. I'm not out here. I'm genuinely a good person. I just made some decisions,
Yeah. And I think that's the fruit. Like, I think that's what I had to learn, that just because a person calls themselves a Christian, and if they're doing all this messed up stuff, like, I used to take that out on Christianity. And I had to learn that it's like, look at people for who they are. Look at the fruit. So if somebody is a blessing to your life, if they're a blessing to others, if they're kind-hearted or good-hearted, then take that. If it's a person that's claiming they're Christian but their actions aren't proving it, it's okay to like separate that from, we're humans, but we all are trying. All of us.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say your faith walk looks like right now?
So it's actually interesting. Like, actually, I was talking with my therapist because I started going to therapy basically after that experience. Like, it was kind of the start of my therapeutic journey, and I feel like therapy... Like, it was literally in college, and, luckily it was free. Shout out to UMD.
I be thinking I need a therapist.
I'm telling you, I think especially for Black women, because I found that, like, we really don't have an avenue to truly just be vulnerable in ourselves. Like, Black women always, even our spouses, our parents, our family, like, we're expected to be strong. And it's like, you got it. And a lot of us are so independent that we feed that narrative of, like, we're fine.
Yeah.
But inside, we're, like...
breaking down.
So therapy has been the one space where I feel like I can just be so vulnerable and somebody is like listening to me unbiased and like able to guide me. So I think it's been helpful. But my therapist, funny enough, is not religious, and she told me, she's like, I think you've kind of stepped back from spirituality and religion because you have trauma, but she's like, it's clear that it's a core part of who you are. Like you said, like what we were raised in, who we are, like at our core, based off of like the family we were born into, the culture that we are part of, like that you can't shake that.
People know what they know.
And there's nothing wrong with that we were born into a particular culture, religion, whatever, for a specific reason. I think
it's a blessing.
Yeah, I do too, because there's some people that are like completely lost, that have no guidance, or that they just have to find it themselves when they're an adult. So I had to learn that, like, to be proud of what I was raised as, to be okay with who I am, and it's okay to also branch out. But she told me that, like, I think you do need to, like, seek spirituality. So then that became my new adult journey of, like, okay, so what does it look like for me? So I did find that, like, I don't think I do well being a member of a particular church. Because, again, there's, like, certain pressures that come with that.
It just might not be
you don't show up one day
right now.
And everybody's like, where were you last Sunday? Damn, like, watching football for real.
I swear, every time I see my church family and they're like, oh, we haven't seen you in so long. I'm like, yes, you have, because my boys are only 2 years old.
Yeah, right.
And you've seen them at different stages. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not here every week, but, you know.
We miss you. It's like, damn, like the subtle guilt.
Like that. But yeah, they be applying the pressure.
The pressure.
This episode is brought to you by me, your legacy curator, Shayna Mowat. I'm not just here to talk about growth, identity, and purpose. I help you build the life you're praying for in real time. As a real estate professional, mortgage originator, and financial strategist, I guide individuals and families through the decisions that shape legacy. From purchasing a home to restructuring debt to creating a financial plan that feels doable, intentional, and God-led. Whether you're buying your first home, trying to understand what you can actually qualify for, wanting to utilize real estate as a wealth building tool, preparing for a new season financially, or just tired of trying to figure it out alone, I'm here to help you move from overwhelmed to over-prepared. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building, you can connect with me directly at yourlegacycurator.com or click the link in the show notes, because legacy isn't something you leave behind, it's something you're building right now. All right, back to the episode.
Also, like, I'm very big on, like, where I spend my dollar. So, like, politically, like, I try not to give my money to companies that I don't feel like align with my beliefs. Yeah. And, like, church is similar, where it's like, I'm okay with giving my offering to God, giving your first fruits. I believe it's important to give back. But I was convicted to start giving back in a way that's direct. So rather than tithing to a ministry where it's like, well, like, where does this go? Like, where's the tangibles? It doesn't have to come back to me, but, like, are y'all helping feed the poor or the sick, or is it just paying this building's bills and the pastor's salary?
That's interesting. Okay, what does that look like for you? Because me personally, you know, I always think about this. Like, if I'm driving past somebody who's asking for money on the street and I don't give them money, I be sitting here like, am I a bad person for not feeling bad about doing that? But I think you have to be actually... And I'm not going to say they're only getting people that are called to it. Like, some people are just doing it to do it. But I think you do have to be called to give in certain ways.
Yeah. Like, you have to feel like, because God loves a cheerful giver. So if I'm just like, oh, here
you go.
Yeah, like, I'm short this month, but I guess. Then, yeah, I don't think you're blessed. But I started taking my tithe as, like, giving back to, like, somebody or anybody in need. Because I can't trust that. I mean, historically, that's what the church used to do. It's like they would feed the homeless, the widow, and all this. But it's like now the church plays a different role. So I'm like, you know what? Like, God just told me, like, one time a month, bless somebody. Whether it's like a friend that's like down bad, or a family member that you know is going through it, or your friend just had something. And that's what I do. I try to, like, give back in a way that's, like, direct. And I know that, like, I'm not necessarily benefiting from it, but it's like I'm paying it forward, right? Like, God has blessed me and put me in a financial position to where I'm able to do this, so I'll do it. Yeah. So you'll be surprised. Yeah, like, there's somebody from high school that hit me up, and they were going through it, and I was like, I think this is God. Right. Because normally I'd be like, bum. But I was like, that was my monthly, like, you know, like, let me help this person out. Yeah. And, like, they were super shocked that I was like, I don't need it back. And I kind of did. But I was like, it's the principle of, like, you know what? Like, this is going to be my offering. Yeah, like, so. I pour into, like, my circle. Like, if somebody I know is going through something, if I can help them, I'll help them. And depending on the amount that I help you with, I don't expect it back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I had to learn that. Like, if you're going to let it go, just let me part ways with it before we start beefing. Right. But recently, I've been, like I said, I just started tithing this year, and I started tithing to my childhood church, even though I don't go there. But that's just the people that I feel tied to. And if you feel called, then yeah. Exactly. Because, like, I think I probably there's a church here in Baltimore, which is actually my man's childhood church. I probably go there, and I've known them my whole life. I've been going to this church also since I was a little kid. And sorry guys, but I don't feel called to, like, you know, I really think that it's a purpose, because you're giving for a purpose. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's been almost like healing to, like, you know, our parents, I guess you were born in this country, but your parents came from another country. Yeah. My parents brought me here. It's like there was, like, my parents used to say, like, we regret bringing you to America because you're so, like, not rigid. Like, I have an ability to think and view things in a way that they didn't have, right? They, like, my mom was raised in boarding school that was Catholic. So, like, they were setting up the system for her, and it was hard for her to change, like, her rigidity. But for me, it's like, you brought me to a country that's so diverse, that has so much going on, and that I was able to see things differently. And so I'm thankful for that, like, for our kids, like, growing up, like, I feel like I would hope that my kids don't have, like, religious aversion, because I think I'm going to allow my kid the opportunity to explore. Yeah. And, like, obviously you have to give them a foundation. I think it's important for kids to not just be out here like, what's going on? So even though I was born here, I think to an extent, I think I am pretty rigid, only because I know what I believe. I know how I was raised culturally. And then it's like certain things just don't fly. You know, and that's how, like, it is, right? Certain things just don't fly. So I can accept anybody for who they are, but who you are does not need to pour into my cup or my house. Yeah. You know, so. And I think that's fair. Like, I feel like you either end up like that, like, appreciating what you were raised and passing that on, or being like, this did not serve me at all, I'm gonna go the complete opposite way. So I think and I think that's almost a testament that like your parents did a good job if you feel like they gave you such a good foundation that you're secure in it, you're comfortable in it, and you want to like perpetuate it. Like that's ideal.
I was super sheltered, and like, well, I was sheltered my whole life, but I lived more strictly when my mom was alive. Because she was just that, like, she was the lawmaker.
Yeah, and it seems like your dad followed
my
her.
My dad kind of went with the, especially when it came to raising the kids. Like, I mean, he was there, he was the provider, he's the protector, you know, everything. But like, what Mama said goes.
Yeah, she was setting the tone.
Yeah, and that was his baby. So like, and not in a bad way, but I feel like when she did pass, he kind of like lost a part of himself too. So I always say that, I mean, my dad was always there, but I kind of raised myself after she passed, in a sense, because things that I could talk to my mom about, I couldn't go talk to my dad about because he was very hands off on certain things. Yeah, and not in a bad
culturally,
way. Yeah, but like when I got into things as I got older, I'm like, okay, these are things I know I can talk to my dad about. Some things I go to my sister because she's a woman. Yeah, but for example, when I got into my little DUI, he was the first person I called. Yeah, so who else? You know what I'm saying? He's my protector. Like, he's gonna love me regardless, like, whatever the case is. And then, like, he wasn't the first person I told when I had my kids. When I told him, he was like, well, he knew about PJ, but he was like, yeah, I didn't even know you were dating. But like that, I'm just saying, like, that's just an example of like, right? That's just an example of our relationship though. Like, I could go to him about anything, but there was just certain things that we just didn't discuss. Yeah. So I definitely grew up more strict when my mom was around, and then I kind of had to figure it out when I got older. But figuring out when I got older only brought me back to the things that I was taught by them when I was younger.
Like, you kind of understand. Like, I think, like, you bring up the purity. So I grew up in, like, I was taking purity classes. I had a purity ring. I made a pledge.
I was just listening to something about that earlier, and I remember when the group of girls in my age group, a little bit older than me, my sister's 3 years older, so really it was her age group, they were all taking a purity class, and they got purity rings. And I just remember I was listening to, I think it was an interview or something like that, and they were talking about the purity class and how she regrets teaching people that. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad my parents they didn't make me do it. They didn't make my sister do it. Like,
it was super traumatic. Not traumatic, but it was, one, I feel like your sexuality is not something that should be discussed with your pastor, right? I think there's things that a pastor can tell you about living as a virtuous woman or living in accordance to God's will, but sexuality it's something that's really personal. And I think that the problem when you're just like, just don't do it, is that that's not realistic, right? Yeah. I think in a perfect world, we're all virgins until we get married, but the reality is once you turn like 13, 14, your hormones hit. Right. And if your parents haven't like effectively taught you how to navigate that, 9 times out of 10, you don't take that purity oath and become a nun. You end up seeking out the answers to this in other ways outside of God's guidance, because like what I got from that was like, you're just not supposed to do it. Yeah. And then when I'm in this situation where it's like, I want to, I need to, or it's like right, you don't know how to, like, I really feel like if our parents were just more real with us, like, let's talk about STDs, let's talk about unprotected versus protected sex, most of us would probably make more consciously wise decisions because we were fully educated on, like, sex education. Yeah. But I do feel like if the church is even going to go there and feel like it's their area of, like, you know, like, we should be talking to kids about this, then it should be, like, it could be religious based, but it also needs to be not necessarily science based, but like based in reality, right? That like kids are for the most part sexually active. Yeah. And if you want kids to follow God's commandments, like how can we discuss sex in a way that's like we're actually showing, because you know it's like when you get older and you realize,
and that's like, the thing also too, because like when you're young they're talking about purity, but when you're older you still have the same hormones, you still have you know what I'm saying.
And also, it's like, I feel like the purity message is always aimed at the women. It's never aimed at the boys. So...
I didn't want to cough. No, you're saying that. But,
so, yeah, that's where it became, like, one-sided. It's like, so why are all these women sitting in these purity classes and the boys are just, like, out playing basketball? Like, they are the ones who spread the seed. Like, they need to know to
y'all the nasty ones.
Yeah, and I think that was important, too. Like, I remember my aunt telling me, like, that she waited until she was married and she was super happy, and I remember asking her like, oh, what about your husband? And she was like, no, like it's not the same for men. And I was like, what do you mean? Like,
they always
why
say
would
that.
God call you to be holy and pure to give yourself away to a man that didn't feel like he had to do the same? Like, so I realized that there's a lot of like sexism too, and some of these things are like cultural. Like,
this
we
might have to
apply
be
it.
a two-part because I feel like we need to get into
We
this.
do. I know this is such a good topic.
This is why you don't have your 20-year plus friend on the podcast because we gonna be talking all day. Okay, but for real. So like, yeah. Okay, so I think, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure my mom and dad didn't make us take that because they wanted to teach us. And I think granted, I was young. I was still, 14, like I said, when she passed. So, like, up until then, there's certain things she wasn't going to talk to me about. But my mom used to always tell me, and not in a weird, crazy way, but, Caribbeans are very sexual people. If you listen to the music, you're going to hear it. My mom used to teach me how to dance. She used to tell me how to get the man. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My mama always said, make sure you got a good pair of drawers on in case something happened. But it's not like she was preparing me to do something. She's just being realistic. Because she knows, like, she knew that. And I appreciated that. Like, she kept it so real and raw with me. And I feel like that's probably why she didn't put us in a class like that. Because my mom has been through a lot with her childhood. Like, she got kicked out at a young age, and her mom didn't get along. So I feel like she knew the relationship that she wanted to have with her kids. But I feel like if more people do that, like, the pressure of it when you get older, that's what it was. Because when you're younger, it's like, they emphasize purity. And then when you get older, they emphasize it to women, to girls. When you get older, nobody's talking about it no more. Nobody wants to be in your sex life. But the first thing that they will say is, if you want to keep your man happy, you need to be doing this. It's like, oh, but he needs to put a ring on it. But he didn't learn what we learned.
Exactly. He wasn't taught about the commitment and this. Yeah. And so my purity story is actually so embarrassing. So,
hey investors and future moguls, looking to grow your real estate network and learn from active deal makers right here in Maryland? Well, your host, the legacy curator, Shayna Mowat, and my team at First Step Financial Services have launched a Real Estate Investors Club. This is not your average sit and take notes meetup. Nah, this is real conversations, real strategies, real funding, and real deal makers linking up in real time. Whether you're just curious or you're ready to lock in your first flip, your first rental, or you true to this and not new to this, you can join us once a month in Columbia, Maryland. We're not just teaching real estate, we're creating a network of investors who look out for each other and win together. The wealth you want is built in rooms like this. Learn, network, invest. Find us on Instagram at That's So Shayna or at You Take the First Step to be notified on our next meetup. All right, back to the episode.
I, again, because very sheltered, grew up in church.
Yeah.
My first partner was somebody from a youth group in, like what you said, like a neighboring church. Like, we're all kind of under a similar umbrella, but their church was based in like another state. So we'd meet up annually for like this youth convention. So we'd see each other.
Yeah.
And he lived in North Carolina, but he happened to have family in Maryland. And at the time he was like 18, so he would drive down. And so like I lost it to him. And I remember confiding in like an older youth girl. That girl ended up telling like everybody. So my parents found out through the church grapevine that and they thought it was a rumor. And then my mom literally went and drove to all of my friends' houses and pressed them out and was like, is Irene doing this? Is she having sex? Blah, blah. All of my friends held their ground except for one. You lucky you moved out the country. There's no point in calling you out, but why would you break the rank? Like, everybody kept the secret except for her. She's like, oh yeah, she's dating this guy. Blah, 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 blah. They did this.
She just ran her mouth.
So then my parents now know that I lost my virginity, and I was young. I was 15, so that's like really young. Like, even for me, I would not want my kid to lose it that young. Because I guess what age is it not weird, but whatever. Yeah. Girl, I was having a meeting with the pastor, the pastor's wife, and my mom and dad at 15, and they're asking for graphic details.
Excuse me.
And I was
I'm not telling you that.
Sexual trauma beginning now, and so I remember having so much guilt and shame, and they made me reclaim my virginity with a prayer, which is it doesn't work like this. It's gone.
Right.
But I remember it took me until my 20s to deconstruct the shame that I associated with sex, because I wasn't able to enjoy it because for so long there was all this, like, this is evil, this is wrong, you're not married, so anything that you're doing, and I really do believe that, like, sex is a gift from God, right? It's a blessing, and if it's done with the right person that you're in love with, that respects you, like...
And, you know, this is another thing I always battle with. Because they say wait till marriage, right?
Disagree.
And marriage, right. But marriage this day and age looks like getting the papers from the courthouse, getting it documented, everything, da-da-da. Marriage back then... You're my wife.
And you were 13. Like, you didn't go through puberty yet. So
you're my wife. There was no court documents. So it's like, and, you know, again, this is why we're not telling nobody what to do. We're just sharing our experiences. But for example, when I had my boys, again, I had them out of wedlock. I'm still not married. They're 2 years old. Perfectly fine. Me and my man live together. We raised them together. Cool. He is my person. He's been my person. He's the person that I lost my virginity to. Way
cute.
back when. I know it's kind of cute, but it came with its trials later on. But now at this big age, we're still, well, not still, because like I said, we were on again, off again, and then it's like we're back together. This is my person. This is the thing. But it's like when I had my kids, somebody from my family, I'm not gonna name no names, not gonna say nothing, was like one of my other cousins was also pregnant, but she was getting married. And somebody said, well, at least she's getting married. And when that got back to me, because I'm the cool cousin, everybody tells me anything.
Yeah,
so,
right.
like, you talking trash about me, it's going to get back to me. But it's like, why does it have to be so shameful like this? And I do think marriage is a thing. But, again, back in the day, people didn't have to go to court and get it documented on paper. Like, this is my wife, this is what we're doing. If this is the person...
you just bless it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, this is the person that you're doing life with. This is...
You just linked up.
Yeah, like, it's not like it was a one-night thing. Like, I just been out here hoeing or something. I mean, granted, could I have waited? Yes. Could I have da-da-da? Yes. But it happened when it was supposed to happen. And I always told God, if I was to have kids, when the time comes for me to have kids, I want twin boys. And that's what I got pregnant with, was twin boys. And I was like,
crazy.
I was like, fuck the shame.
And also, like, if God literally allowed the life to come, like, it implanted successfully, both boys were healthy, and, like, that's God's will, right? Like,
yeah.
God isn't going to allow this sinful and not supposed to be thing to happen and prosper.
But, okay,
and grow, right?
in some instances, because then you have, like, instances where it's, like, for example, rape. Unfortunately, some people get pregnant after... that, and that's an unfortunate event. But, like, when it's two people who are really genuinely choosing to do life together, y'all doing all the things, like, I feel like it happens.
And that's the thing, every life has a purpose. Like, unfortunately, like, I remember reading a book about a child of rape, and she, like, her mom was abused by somebody and ended up pregnant with her, and her mom chose to keep her. And she remembers that she was grappling with that and how stressful it was, but her mom always told her, like, I just felt deep down that, like, if God didn't want me to produce a life, then it wouldn't have... and so it's interesting, like, and perspective, right? Like, that even a life born out of such a disturbing and disgusting circumstance, like, if the life successfully made it and is viable, then maybe that person has a purpose, like, that's bigger than the circumstances they were born in. So I do think... I wish religion would almost, like, be progressive as well, where it's like, I think some of the rules and systems that we're operating from, I mean, some of these things were written in, like, 3000 BC. Like, there's been centuries of time that's passed, and, like, we're in a new era, and I think that it's okay to, not to say adjust, because I think the word of God is constant, and I don't think you can, like, remix it just to make it fit you, but I do think there is a reality of, like, the times changing. Like, a lot of these things were written by Old Testament men, and they weren't necessarily accounting, like, women having free will and rights to vote and all, so we're in this new era where I think, like, as a modern Christian woman, like, I think less shame and less, because, again, I don't know that a lot of Christian men walk around with shame at all. I
don't think they do.
At all. Like, the pastors out here hoeing, like... The men are, like, they're having the time of their lives, and they feel secure in their Christianity, but a lot of women take on that, like, if you're unmarried, it's a problem. If you're married and you don't have kids, it's a problem. Like, if you're unmarried and have kids, it's a problem. It's always a problem for us.
But, and then I also think it goes back to, like, there's a difference when you are a member of the church and when you're actively participating, serving in the church.
That's true.
So, like... I mean, I'm not saying that it makes you any better, but it goes back to what I was saying about the pastors. Like, if this era of your life right now is not you leading by example, then don't lead.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Not right now. Not saying you're not called to do it, but get your stuff together. Come back or something. Like, you know what I mean? Just be honest about it. So, and I'm saying that because years ago, before I was born, and I'm sure it happened after I was born, but there's a particular person who was pretty much shunned because she had her child out of wedlock at a younger age. And she had to go in front of the church and apologize to people.
We've seen that.
Yeah, and it's like...
the public shaming.
And I think, again, it depends on where you go, but I believe my kids have been opened with welcome arms to the people at my church. They've known me since I was a baby. And every time they see my kids, they're just like, wow, like, you know, like, they really, like, show love.
Like, you felt like you got...
They don't actually come at me like, oh, you gotta go apologize. You know what I mean?
Come stand on this pulpit.
You can't come back in here. It wasn't like that. So I think, again, it's kind of like where you are, but some places are probably still on that. Like,
yeah, because there was a girl that was a few years older than us that had a kid, like, at 19, which, like, in hindsight, I was like, 19 was, like...
You're grown.
Yeah, you're kind of grown. They treated her like she had delivered Satan's baby. Like, it was the same thing. She had to apologize, and it was all this shame. And that girl still has issues to this day. Like, I wouldn't say she's, like, mentally all the way there. And I think a big part of that was how much, like...
the way they treat
a teen pregnancy is already traumatic. And here, go to church.
They always say, pay attention to how people treat you when you're pregnant and right after you have your baby. Pay attention, because postpartum and pregnancy is, like, it's definitely a volatile time in a woman's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know. Maybe we need a support group for... but it's interesting. And I feel like, I hope that the takeaway from this is not that people think that we're, like, bashing religion or that we're upset with Christianity, but, like, that there's a lot to unpack. And I think in a perfect world, like, religion would be that safe space as opposed to a place that gives you, like, all this stuff to unpack, right? Like, the church really should be the place where you go to feel safe. You go if you're in a crisis and you need support. Like, I think that the modern church has a big opportunity, especially right now, like we say, like, with politics. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are stressed, lost, confused, like, not sure what's going on. And so I think it would be nice to see, like, young people coming back to God if they felt like that they really got the support they needed. Yeah, I think a lot of young people just feel like my therapist is holding me down more than, like, the church is. Or, like, you know, like, and I think that shouldn't be the case. I think if the church is truly doing what it was called to do, like, healing people that are, like, brokenhearted, sick, hurt, like, not even that, even if you're okay, but you just want to seek God in a real way. Yeah. I think it's some of the distractions.
And I think it's healthy to explore, because, like you said, you experienced other churches, and it was like, I mean, even though something happened, you know, when you finally got comfortable at a church, it's still a different feeling, different places you go. Yeah. So even though you got church hurt here, you know, it's not necessarily saying turn away from the church. It's just really, like, evaluate your faith walk. Know what you believe. Yeah. And, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And, like, I think spirituality, even, like, outside of church per se, I think most people can benefit from finding whatever belief system works for them to process, like, the world that we live in. Like, sure, I think that, like we said, there's a small fraction of people that just think it's just this, and, like, we live and we die. But I think most people believe that there's something else outside of there. Yeah. And I think I used to be super rigid with, like, there's only one way to view it. And the older I've gotten, I've been like, you know what? Like, this is one of life's greatest mysteries, is that if any of us actually knew, then, like, we wouldn't have any problems, right? We all know exactly what was going on. But part of the journey is that, like, discovering what happens when we die, what happens on the other side, or, like, if God comes back while we're actively, like, you know, like, I think we all have had those questions, and I think that's part of the journey, that it's like you never have to have the conclusive answers, as long as you're constantly, like, we won't know until we're there, like, until we're gone, and, like,
exactly,
looking back. So I think I've tried to make religion less stressful for myself and more of a, like, this is supposed to bring me peace, and like, let me use it as a tool to, like,
it doesn't have to be scary, it doesn't have to be any pressure to it, there doesn't have to be any shame just because you are in a specific religion and your life looks a little different from what, you know, they want your life to look like, because again, it's experiences, and it's all about your personal relationship with God. If God says something to you, he's not ever going to hate you. You're going to get more hate from the church. Well, not the church. Let me Because you're going to get more hate from people. Because it's not the church, it's people.
Yeah.
You're going to get more hate from people than you are ever going to get from God. And I had to realize, like, I had to stop telling myself that I'm more spiritual than religious just in my journey, because I am pretty tied to my religion.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of disrespectful for me to say that, because it's like, no, I am.
No, I'm
pretty religious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's all about relationship. Because even though I'm religious, I'm not judgmental. I'm not shunning people for not having the same faith walk that I have. Like, you know, I still love everybody. I'm still open-minded. Like, but I know what I believe for myself. And what I know for myself doesn't have to be what you know for yourself.
And even in our friendship, like, I don't feel like I don't even know if we've ever talked about religion like that until, like, today, like, deeply.
Right, not like this. Definitely not like this.
Which is a good thing,
I
think.
I knew some of your background. I know that you're a preacher's kid, a pastor's kid. I know that. But I don't think we've really gotten this deep into it.
Yeah. And I think it's testable. Like, we've come full circle. Like, we've gone through all the life stages, like, our prom date night. Like, I still remember prom night where we're just like, we have our little booze, and then we're dating around, you know, we have our little flings, and we both settled down into kind of more serious relationships, and now we're kind of in the, like, adult life, like, living at home, like, running our households.
Laughing at those little girls that were at prom.
I'm telling you, like, we've come a long way, but I know, but I think that's the beauty of, like, growth, too, and, like, having good friends is that, like, even if we don't necessarily process life or see things the same way, like, we've always been there to support each other, always there for each other. And I think, like, that to me is, like, that's God's love right there. Like, that's how you know a person, like, loves you and is operating from a place of, like, spirituality and God's love. Yeah. Like,
no judgment, just you know,
we vibing,
it's a safe place to just be.
I was so happy for your baby shower. It's crazy, like, I don't even think I ever even thought anything about, like,
I was honestly
your status. Like, right, it's just like, I'm just like, my girl having babies. Like,
and I was honestly, like, when you and my sister were planning it, I was really just like, wow, Irene is planning my baby shower.
I know, like, I don't think we would have thought that in, like, 8th or 9th grade.
No,
like,
because we've always been cool, but I feel like, you know, our friend group looks a lot different than what it looks like now. But you were always closer to somebody else, and I was always closer to somebody else, but we all hung out.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, she's planning my baby shower?
I know, as we, like, the years have gone on, it's like, I was talking to another friend, and she was like, I'm losing my friend group. I was like, girl, I got, like, 3 friends. Like, and it's okay, because, like, those are 3 people.
Even with Mame, because Mame, we've always been in the same friend group, but she was closer to somebody else, and it's like the 3 of us kind of just...
We were both friends of a friend that... Yeah, so I think that's how you know, like, I feel like God puts people in your life, and, like, some people drop off along the way, but the constant people are, like, the people that God really, like, put in your life for a specific reason. Like, like, I actually still remember the first day that you came back after you took off, like, when your mom passed, like, because we were all like, damn. Like, it's like, for me, it was a pivotal moment of, like, life got real. Because
it's crazy because I came back, like, 2 weeks before school was over.
I know, that's where she was like, you missed the whole year.
8th grade.
And I remember you came back fly as hell, too. I was like, oh, somebody went shopping, like, and I just remember, like, I remember we had all talked about, like, what do we even, like, do? How do we support? But, like, we weren't friends at that point. Like, it just was, like, I remember feeling so much empathy for, like, that's a lot for an 8th grader to be going through. Like, and that was a lot. And I remember, like, in a weird way, like, I feel like that was kind of, like, weirdly the start. Like, I remember you coming back and talking, and, like, everybody gave you, like, a little group hug or whatever, and, like, I don't know, but I feel like we all felt called to, like, try to be there to support you. And it's weird because, like, in hindsight, I'm like, I had no business. Like, I wasn't even, like, friends with you. Like,
no, but the thing about it, too, we were kind of destined. Like, the world was kind of pushing us together because we have, our last names are similar.
Oh, yeah, we were always in homeroom
We were always in homeroom together from middle school to high school. Like, we were always in homeroom together. And then, like, then
we were messing with 2 friends, 2 besties.
Right. Like,
that time has passed.
Lord,
I love my husband.
Give that up.
But yeah, we were always somehow, like, brought back together. Then we both work at the same company.
Yeah, and so that just kind of happened because I didn't even know you were working there when I started, and you were working with the little kids, and I was with the elementary kids.
So life was meant to be. But yeah, it's been a blessing, and I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Like, it's weird. I was thinking, like, the other day, like, we're all going to have our 40th birthdays. Like, I know that that's, like, super far ahead, but I was like...
slow down!
Because my aunt just had her 40th, and she had all of her, like, high school friends there, and I was like, bro, like I can't
slow down.
I can't think about the fact that you really can have like lifelong friends that are going through like life stages together, and like where will we be in 10 years or so, like, you know. So
40 gonna be lit though.
I think it is. That's where I'm
all
like
gonna be rich.
I know I'm like old now because I'm like, bring it on. Like,
right.
20s were ghetto. Like,
there's really nothing to celebrate between 30 and 40. So it's like once you hit 30, it's like, all right, what's next?
Yeah, literally. I'm like, this next chapter about to be babies, settling down, weddings.
Babies for y'all, so my boys can have play dates.
No, for real. I know. I be checking in with my man every 6 months, like, you're not pregnant.
Right? Like, what we doing here?
We gotta plan this out somewhat. Or your boy's gonna be babysitting.
Right. Which actually works out, because I thank God for their older cousins. I'd be like, oh, yes.
The fact that I still remember your niece as a baby is crazy. Yeah, time definitely flies, so... It's been a blessing, and now my girl got her podcast going. So yeah, thank you. I was super honored, and I don't know how many people you have lined up, but
thank you for
joining to be a guest.
Well, you're one of the first, so let's start there. You are one of the first.
It's definitely, I'd love to do this again. This was super fun. So.
We have to do it with my main too, because I know that's just gonna be a whole geek session.
I know, literally, that's gonna be funny. We got to do like a pop culture, like a love, like a reality one. Right. We got to. Our group chat be popping, but we need to sit down and discuss.
Okay, so tell the people what you got going on business wise, because you know we all entrepreneurs. We all got, you know, and where they can find you.
That's true. All right, so I have a home daycare. I'm based in Gaithersburg, so it's called Koala Care. So you can find me at koala-care.com online, and then I also do photography. So I do pretty much like families, portraits, and weddings. But you can find me at Flora Janet Photography on Instagram. So yeah, and make sure y'all, if y'all need a house, make sure you hit up my girl Shayna. If you need life insurance, hit up my girl Shayna. Trying to build your legacy.
Thank you. Okay, but also if you are a professional, she does do brand shoots as well, because she did mine and that was fun and they came out great. And people still be asking me, and I'd be like, yeah, you hit up my girl, but you know nobody likes to pay for nothing. But just pay the price.
I'm telling you. No, I'm actually...
She's not expensive at all.
I was thinking about, like, how did we ever do that thing we were supposed to do with your sister?
No, but we need to... It's still on the list. I
forgot about it, and I was like, okay, well, nobody said nothing, so I'm going to assume we're all in the same boat and, like, busy, because I was cracking up. I was like, I hope I didn't, like, flake on that. But I was like, I think we all, like... But we need to.
No, we're going to do it. It's coming. It's on... So I got my... business going, and remember, because we were saying that we need to trademark, we're gonna do that. It's gonna be a thing. It's coming. I think because we didn't do it when we wanted to do it right now, that, you know, the end of the year is like holidays and
exactly.
So we're gonna wait, but first quarter is coming and people are gonna need their headshot, so
let's do it.
It's coming.
I'm excited for that.
Oh, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. Hope I didn't traumatize anybody with my religious trauma, but it was a great conversation. Yeah, this was super fun.
As we wrap things up, I just want to thank all of today's listeners for sharing space with me today. If today's conversation spoke to you, I hope you give yourself permission to sit with it, speak on it, and heal through it. Remember, she has an intentional destiny yielding, and this journey, it's yours to own. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at That's So Shayna. If you're ready to be a guest or a sponsor, tap in. We're building this platform together. If you feel led, please share this conversation with a sister who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay shady, stay grounded, and keep the conversations going.